What's up, everybody? Trying to go live here. Wanted to film this, talk about Ohio State basketball just played. I was listening to some of the post-game show. Heard a lot of just, you know, not just the post-game show, but just other media outlets that you can read. And it's just garbage. It's just garbage, the things they tell us and the way they cover the team and the things they believe in and this, that, and the other. Um, First off, before I even get into that, I guess I'm kind of just ranting right now. Um, Michael is away. I mean, we haven't done a podcast in a while, and this will be the last one that I'm going to do for a while as well. Michael's dealing with some personal issues currently, so he can't really, we're not really doing any podcast together right now, but hopefully before the season starts, we can get back into it again. But he's just going through a lot right now, so yeah, that's just what's going on there. Anywho, getting back to Ohio State basketball, they lost tonight to the Georgia Bulldogs. Um, Sucks, really, really sucks. Um, Georgia's an SEC team, so there's that. It sucks to lose to the SEC. But let's just start. I'm not going to be on very long. Let's start with the Jake Diebler hire. I personally did not like the Jake Diebler hire. I don't have anything against Jake Diebler, but I just didn't think he was ever an actual option for Ohio State. I don't think he's a bad coach, but he's like totally unknown. He's totally unknown, and on a program like Ohio State, unknown isn't the way to go. I mean, look. I mean, let's look at the failure of Ryan Day. Ryan Day's been a failure at Ohio State. I don't care what anyone says. He's been a total failure. Um, Total failure for Ohio State. And he's a new coach with no experience as well. Um, and then my personal coaching list, I would have had my cat's like right behind me acting crazy. So hang tight. Get out of here, Mittens. Some dudes in my channel just saying Brazil, Brazil. I don't know if that's a spam or whatever. Throwing me off. I would have tried to lure Brad Stevens out of retirement. I would have tried to have gotten Billy Donovan. I would have gone after Scott Drew at Baylor. Those are three names that come to mind. I understand Jay Wright he's like completely retired and everything. And at the same time, we needed to get like a big name that has had success, similar to the Urban Meyer in 2012 hire for Ohio State basketball. For Ohio State football, Ohio State needed a hire along the lines of Urban Meyer in 2012 for the basketball program in 2024, and they didn't get it. I don't think Jake Diebler is a bad coach, but he's not a good coach either. And I'll get to his coaching here in a minute. I'm not going to stay on very long. I'm just really pissed off. The roster construction. Now, this is between Diebler and Holtman. Diebler's not innocent here because he recruited a lot of these guys. The program has a lot of smaller guards, and it just makes it that much harder for these guards to drive and score inside. They need to get bigger and longer guards across the board. Roddy Gale at only 6'4", he can't be your biggest guard on the roster. You need guys that are between honestly 6'4" to 6'7" at guards. I mean, look what Georgia was throwing out there with their guards. Like they weren't really playing anyone outside of their one point guard that was under 6'4", and that was one of the biggest reasons why they won, is because they could have a lot more uncontested shots just from having like larger players and bigger longer length to get your shots off. And then all of the big men outside of Akpara are all under 6'8". I know Austin Parks is 6'10", but he doesn't play, so you can't count him. Zed Key is completely worthless basketball player. He should be playing in the MAC because that's where his talent is. I know he had like one or two good games against Duke and another one against another high-profile program, but those are two games out of like 30 he was terrible against better teams. I think tonight he had the one dunk where he was wide open. Outside of that, I don't think the guy even scored. He didn't give us anything in the rebounding. When he was in the game, the defense was terrible and the rebounding was terrible. Akpara did need to play a lot of it because Akpara is a beast, and I really hope he doesn't transfer. I don't think he's going to, but if he does, that is going to be crippling to this program. Um, Speaking of transfers, supposedly Michi Johnson is exploring coming to Ohio State. I would take him as long as he's okay with being a backup. You can't start a three-guard lineup of Thornton, Gale, and Michi Johnson because, like I said before, that would just be diminutive. I mean, they look diminutive compared to Georgia tonight, but that would just be diminutive. Um, next season as well. I mean, he's a streaky shooter. He's only 6'1", 6'2". Just asking for a lot of trouble with that. I would be okay. Maybe if you kick off like one of the guards, like Bowen Hardman, shouldn't be on the team either, or Kalen Etzler, kick those guys off the team. Create a spot for Michi Johnson to be a backup, but he can't start here. I mean, he's not consistent enough with his shooting. He's not big enough. At South Carolina, he was like splitting point guard duties and stuff. Like he wouldn't be playing point guard at Ohio State. He would be playing shooting guard. So I guess that's for transfer news. I really hope Scotty Middleton doesn't leave. I think we probably would have beaten Georgia tonight had Scotty Middleton played, but just reading the tea leaves here, I think he's gonna transfer, and that really sucks. Right when they said he came back to the program yesterday, and for him to not even be on the bench today, that's a major red flag. I know they're trying to say family issues or whatever, but I'm guessing he's contemplating transferring, and we'll probably hear some news on that in the next couple of days. And that's a crippling loss because outside of actually Jamison Battle, he was our only consistent 3-point shooter. Bruce Thornton was inconsistent. Roddy Gale was non-existent. So on top of like not having a lot of size, they didn't have a lot of shooting. And now the best shooter on the roster is gone. Jamison Battle next year, that is going to be a massive, massive, massive loss. I just don't know how you replace him. I mean, Diebler is going to have to hit the portal, and he's not going to be, you can't get guys that were like second team all MAC or even first team all MAC. If you're going to get somebody from the fucking MAC, they better be the player of the year in the MAC, and they better be big and athletic and a two-way player that can play offense and defense. They can't be just a defensive specialist. They can't be a three-point shooting specialist. They need to be a complete player with size, length, and athleticism because those are the types of players that should be Ohio State. Players like Evan Mahaffey and Zed Key and Dale Bonner, they're not Ohio State players. Honestly, Evan Mahaffey should have his scholarship pulled and have him go back to fucking Penn State. Go back to fucking Penn State. And I don't think you're good enough to play for Penn State either, to be honest with you. You should be in the MAC. So thank God Zed Key is gone. I really hope he doesn't try and come back for a fifth year because that would be a killer. That guy, like I said, worthless. Let's get into the coaching now. Not a fan of Diebler's coaching. Is he as bad as Holtman? No. It's not hard to be a step up from Holtman, though. It looked like a Holtman game out there, to be honest with everyone, though, from what I saw. Like they were throwing the ball all over the place on offense, turning it over, losing the ball on defense. I mean, their defensive stances are atrocious. I mean, and that's a lot of the reason why they're getting beat off the dribble so much, which leads to kickouts and wide open threes. I understand that they were at a length and size disadvantage, but keeping your man in front of you has nothing to do with size or length. I understand Georgia got some easier looks because of that, of their size and length, but when it comes to like just keeping your man in front of you and holding them to contested shots, that's all about want to, and that is about just defensive stance, getting in a low defensive stance and closing on shooters well and all of that. When Okpara was out of the game, the defense was like late term abortion type bad. It was so fucking bad, and it was just disgraceful to watch because like Zed Key is so small. Akpara at least could block some shots here and there. Yeah, it was, and now there are the optics that come with this game. They just lost to a Georgia team at home. Georgia was on a shortened rest. They had played on Sunday, and here we are on Tuesday night playing again. Ohio State played on Saturday night. They didn't have to travel. Georgia played at Wake Forest, and then I'm guessing they got on a plane. I think they might have went back to Athens one day on Sunday, and then turned around and came back to Columbus on Monday. I don't know. I checked their page. They were in Columbus on Monday, so I don't know how those logistics work. But they were away from home on a shortened rest, and Ohio State still lost at home. Where in the fuck are we as a program to be in a close game against a team like Georgia at home, and then not even just be in a close game, but lose, be out executed by Mike White? And Mike White, I don't know. I was checking him. He never really had that much success at Georgia or at Florida. So people are trying to say he's a good coach. No, the fuck he's not. What has he done in his career? I mean, like, that's just that softball type answers from people trying to just excuse the loss. That was a devastating loss for the program. And yeah, is the team going to get a little more talented and stuff? Yeah, I do believe it, but that's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is I don't believe in Diebler to coach well enough to win when the teams are of like talent. I don't think it's going to be a total like fall into the Grand Canyon type stuff like Holtman or even at the end of Thad Matta was, but from what I saw of Diebler and in the small sample size, I'm just not sold on his coaching. I think they said on TV that Georgia won the only meeting that was in the 70s. And if that's the case, Georgia's 2-0 against Ohio State in basketball. They're 2-0 against Ohio State in football. That means they're 4-0 against Ohio State in the money-making sports. So optics-wise, it makes it that much worse because Ohio State is 0-4 against Georgia in the money-making sports, and they own Ohio State. There's nothing else to be said. They own Ohio State and the sports that matter. And that's pitiful. That is just absolutely fucking pitiful. It's just like, what are we doing here? We can't beat teams in the SEC in football or basketball. I don't know how we lucked into that win against Alabama in basketball earlier in the season, but I mean, I'll take it. But yeah, but good game. But like you reiterated before, where have we fallen as a program to be in a good game against Georgia at home? Defensive fundamentals were awful. Offensive execution in the clutch, they were terrible. Feel bad for Jamison Battle. He played hard. It felt like him and Akpara were easily our two best players. Thornton was probably number 3, and then after that, Roddy Gale was inconsistent, turned the ball over too much. Tayson Chapman really hurt him, not having an off season, not being with the team in the summer. But at the same time, like, dude, you're a basketball player. I mean, I know you practice and stuff on your own. That should come back to you a lot sooner than it did. And, yeah, I mean, he turned the ball over a few times, and that was pitiful. And honestly, a well-coached team wins that game at home versus a team on such a short rest. That's what I'm most concerned about. A well-coached team wins that game at home against Georgia. Do I think Georgia was the better team? Yeah, I do. I was like saying before the game, I'm really worried about this game. Georgia's bigger and more athletic than Ohio State is. And Scotty Middleton's not going to play. That's a guy with length and shooting. He's the only other shooter on the team. Bruce Thornton is a little too streaky to call him a shooter, a good shooter, a maker. 32% from 3. That's not a quality 3-point shooter there. I'd say Scotty Middleton and Jamison Battle were it. Now we're losing Jamison Battle. He could drive, he could shoot fairly well. He was a tough rebounder. That is just a devastating loss. And Jake Diebler needs to get I would say, two guys in the portal that are good two-way players that are between 6'8" and 6'10" that can play inside. That's where he needs to go. And then I would probably add Michi Johnson if it means kicking out Bowen Hardman and Kalen Etzler. They need to go because they're not contributing anything to the program. They got their scholarship. They were on the team for a couple of years. Go use that money. And I mean, you're probably getting fucking NIL money as well. So it's not like you're not getting anything outside of that either. So yeah, a lot to unpack here. Just really, really disgusted by that game. Really, really disgusted. Really dark eye for the program. Dark black eye for the program. Losing at home to the SEC again. It's just, it's disgusting. It's really disgusting, and really upset with, hiring Jake Diebler. Really upset with the expectations of the program, because this program can be at North Carolina or Duke level. I don't care what anybody fucking says. They can be at that level. They've been there before. They have 11 Final Fours. That's like number 6 all time. They should have like 2 or 3 national championships. They only have one national championship. They choked in the 60s twice. Um, and they just had bad coaching against Florida in 2007, and Thad underachieved a lot. But we have 11 Final Fours, should have a couple national championships, and you add 2 national championships to those 11 Final Fours, Ohio State's in the blue blood discussion. I'm not saying that they would be, but I mean, they're not in the blue blood discussion now, but I mean, they do have a lot of success. They are by far the most successful basketball program with a connection to a blue blood football school by far. And it's not even close. Not even close. But this program can be absolutely, at the very least, top 15 every year. And it's disappointing that we're settling for this garbage. This is just total fucking garbage. Coaching, roster construction. Ross Bjork, man, I had high faith. I had a lot of faith in you, man. But this hire with Jake Diebler, it's not looking good. Bringing back Dave Dickerson to be an assistant coach, and from what I understand, he was a garbage assistant coach under Thad's time. But Thad sucked as a coach, so I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Dave Dickerson. I don't know. So this is going to be posted in the morning. So I just wanted to rant and let everyone know my thoughts on the program. Hopefully, Michael will be all right. And we're going to start having podcasts together before the football season starts, and hopefully we'll get kicked back in again. But yeah, I just wanted to vent. I'm really pissed off. I know I've said that ad nauseum on this thing, but you know, it's live. It's not scripted. This is me unfiltered. I just needed to get my thoughts out because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation going on about Ohio State basketball, and I wanted to give you guys the truth. A lot of people aren't giving you the truth, and I wanted to give it to you. So thank you again. Have a great night, everyone, or a good morning. So take care. Go Bucks. Oh, wait. Actually, you know, before I get on to him. Yeah, actually, I'm not pumped for. I'm sorry. Before I go, I want to address Elijah here. SEC is not trash, man. SEC was not trash. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry, I didn't see any of this. Sorry that I was about to end this thing, but all right, I'm ending it now. All right, go Bucks, everybody.